March 4th. Today we are pleased to have not only a multi-time U.S. national champion, multi-time world finalist, multi-time international indoor champion, multi-time snowboards champion, multi-time indoor champs winner, a 210 race champion, but more importantly, a friend to the Hadley RC Club, Paul Lemieux.
Hi guys. I think I've gotten to meet most of you already. I've come by in the pits, and anyone who hasn't come by, please come see me and introduce yourself. And I've got some giveaways for you guys. And then also on Monday I should have a box of tires that should show up for you guys. I got roughly 30 sets of foam tires, so I'll be sending that this week over here, so you guys will have them next time you run. So everybody will get a nice fresh set of tires. Should have some good traction for you. Basically, I'm just here to help out. I'm not a very good public speaker, so I apologize. But I'm here to help out if you guys have any problems with your cars, have any questions. Please come see me. A little bit about myself. I started racing when I was about 13 years old, and started out just like you guys. And I think you have a great thing going with this club, and I'm happy that you guys all support it, and it's just an awesome thing. I'm going to do a race report, and I'm going to get it up on Red RC. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that website. It's kind of like the big RC racing news website, so I'm going to get it up there and get you guys some publicity and post some pictures, and so look for that on redrc.com, and it'll probably be posted on various other sites too. So basically, that's really about it. I started, when I was your age, and I've been doing it ever since, and now I'm very fortunate to be able to do it for a living. And I work for a lot of different companies that manufacture some of the products that you guys race with. So feel free to come over, ask questions, talk to me about my cars or your cars, or whatever, and come and introduce yourself, and I'll get you the little door prizes that I have for you. And that's about it. Are there any questions right now? Raise your hand. What's up, bud?
What's your favorite car?
Favorite car I ever raced is probably one of my first cars. It was when I was real young. I got a nitro. It was called a Kyosho Sam Master 10, and it was like one of the first cars I ever drove. And obviously, it was way too fast for me. So it was pretty fun when it ran. It was a nitro car, so it was way over my head to work on, so it didn't last long. But it was pretty cool. What's up?
Who inspired you to race RC cars?
Probably the gentleman who owns the hobby shop in Milwaukee. His name's Scotty Ernst. When I was young, he had trackside hobbies and still does, and he had the on-road track, and I started racing with him, and I was able to look up to him and his successes in racing, and it was just a really good environment to be in. So definitely. What's up?
Do you remember your first car you ever drove?
First car I ever drove was a Traxxas Blue Eagle, I think. It was a stadium truck, probably one of Traxxas's earlier models. My stepbrother had one, and that was kind of what sparked my interest in the first place. He had one, and I'd never seen it before, so definitely.
At your house, do you have like a track that you race at?
At my house?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I wish I did. That'd be pretty cool. But no, the closest track that I race at right now is in Winthrop Harbor, Illinois, which is right on the border of Wisconsin and Illinois. And they got a great group of guys there too, so that's where I do the majority of my testing.
Do you ever race short course?
My son does. I got him a short course truck, a Traxxas Slash for Christmas, and he's 5. So he's starting to race, and he goes out there and bashes around. It's pretty fun. I've actually never driven it myself. It doesn't look like it handles very good, but maybe I need to do some work on it for him.
When were you sponsored?
Excuse me?
When were you sponsored?
I got, my first sponsorship was from Tamiya in probably 1998, or probably 1999 was the first company I raced for, and that was Tamiya. Anything else?
How did you get sponsored?
I attended the TCS Nationals, and I had done the regional races at Trackside where they had the TCS races, and I got to meet some of the people from Tamiya. You know, as I came here, some representatives from Tamiya would come to those events, so I got to meet them. And then I went to the nationals and performed okay there, not too bad. And I applied for a sponsorship with them, and they accepted me as a sponsored driver, so it was great.
Have you ever been sponsored by Traxxas or Track?
I've never been sponsored by Traxxas or HPI. Traxxas definitely does more of the sport stuff, so I don't think they would be super excited to work with a racer. I know they have a lot of racers in the engineering department and things like that, which I don't fall into that category. I don't have any schooling in it, so but it's a possibility. But right now, Traxxas is real focused on just getting RC out there to the masses, and they're doing a great job. But and then HPI has a company called Hot Bodies, which is their racing division, and they're in line with some of the work that I do, but I've never worked with them yet. What's that?
Can you race for Team Associate?
I've actually never raced for Team Associate. I had driven one of their cars in like maybe 2004. I was in between sponsors, and I purchased one of their cars and raced it at a couple races. And they make good product as well. Yeah. But right now my main sponsors are RC America and X-Ray. That's the chassis sponsorship. And then Thunder Power does motors and batteries and chargers. And then Futaba for the transmitters and the servos and that type of electronics. And Protoform for the race bodies. And those are my 4 major sponsors right now.
When you go to practice, what do you work on? Would you go to Winthrop Harbor to practice?
Well, normally what I try and do is I'll go to a big event, and you know, normally there's always things coming off a big event. You don't win all of them for sure. So you know, I'll come off of a race, and let's say I finished 5th at a race, and I'll take my car from that race and bring it straight to the test track. So I won't do anything to the car, and I'll just test it at that track. I'll get a good feel for how it's running and try and compare what I thought I needed to improve on as to how it's running at my test track. And then after that day of testing, which I'll just run the car the way it was, I'll go home and I'll build a different car, let's say rebuild that car, and then come back to the track as soon as possible, like probably the next day. That way the surface doesn't change very much and the layout is the same and everything like that, so I'm able to compare lap times and also how the car feels and try and improve from there. And you know, sometimes I'll do that 5-6 days in a row where I'll go home and work on stuff and come back the next day and just try and improve. You know, it's hard to put your finger on if you are improving or not, but at least that's the best way to do it. You know, you have a set car that you know performs like it does, and you test at the track, and then you come back to that same track as soon as possible afterwards and see if you can improve. Yep.
Where is your next race going to be?
My next race is in 2 weeks in Dallas, Texas. It's the ROAR. ROAR is the sanctioning body for the United States. There's IFMAR is a global RC racing body, which they hold the world championships, and then the block they call it, which is North America and South America. Yeah, North America, and I don't think it's South America, but Canada and the U.S. we have what's called ROAR, and they're the sanctioning body in this region for IFMAR. So our nationals it's called the ROAR Nationals, and it's the ROAR Carpet Nationals are in about 2 weeks in Dallas.
What do you do in your spare time?
Just you know, I work on a lot of cars. I actually started a company this year called Hadley RC, which is I kind of fill in the gaps on some product to try and get a little bit more in the business with my sponsors. Obviously, I can't compete against my sponsors, and I don't want to with products. But with Hadley RC, I'm getting into the industry a little bit more on the business side and trying to come out with some products. And then obviously my son and my wife, you know, I spend as much time with them as possible, and then the rest of the time I'm pretty much traveling. So it, for the most part, I keep fairly busy.
What are some of the basic driving ideas that you use, constantly use since you first started racing?
What I've learned, the best thing I've learned is that you don't have try not to go fast. If you're very smooth with the trigger, like I find that it's easy to go fast if you have really good throttle control. Your steering, you know, your coordination in the steering is going to be there, and whether you turn the wheels super hard or not, as long as your timing is down and you're staying on a good line on the track. For the most part, the steering doesn't have as much to do with it as you would think. I think most people focus on steering so much and then they just kind of yank the trigger. Whereas the one thing I've learned by being able to compete against the best drivers in the world is that I think throttle control is probably the most important thing, and not spinning the tires, because you can't really go forward very fast if you're spinning the tires. So that's my biggest driving technique thing. It's kind of hard to point out one thing or another, but definitely throttle control. Whenever I watch somebody go out and just dominate a race, let's say, you can normally say that their throttle control was spot on that day.
This is something that has nothing to do with the actual racing, but I've wondered about this. When you travel, let's say you get to go to another country, you're going to, let's say you're going to Texas. If you fly, how do you ship all your other equipment? How does that work?
Most people do ship it because it makes it a lot easier. I take all my stuff with me. I just have 2 big suitcases that it'll be just basically I pack all my RC gear and then I cram as many clothes as I can, to try and get by. But it's gotten a little bit more difficult to travel on planes and stuff. I still take my cars on board with me in a backpack, and they always get checked, and they always have to go through a special security type of thing where they take it out and they swab it to make sure that it's not explosive or something like that. But that's what I do. I take my cars with me on board, and I take my batteries too, because the LiPo batteries, it's not good to put them underneath the plane. If they're gonna go up, you'd rather be there to make sure that it's not underneath the plane. But that's pretty much it, and then everything else goes underneath in my suitcases. Go ahead.
Would you say you run all LiPos, or?
Yeah, I run all LiPos now. They're about I don't know, probably 3 years ago or so, we went to LiPo only, and it's been a nice change. They're good.
Have you ever had any LiPo installations?
I've never had one blow up on me. I've actually made one blow up on purpose before, just to kind of see, which it can be pretty spectacular. So it's definitely a big safety thing. If you guys have any LiPos at home or whatever, make sure you keep them in a LiPo bag or an ammo box or something like that. I mean, it's very rare they would go up, but better safe than sorry type of thing,
Is there a certain color that you like to use?
Yeah, my paint job is the pink and blue and white paint job. I actually, when about like 6 years ago maybe, I raced for Kyosho, and at the time I didn't have a paint job. I used just to run all white bodies. It was probably longer than that ago, maybe almost 10 years ago, but I used to run all white bodies, and it was kind of one of those things where everybody would get on me and say, hey, if you want to brand yourself and you want to be recognized on the racetrack, you got to get a paint job. So Kyosho had just sent me one of their little micro RTR buggies, and it had a paint job on it that was yellow, blue, and I forgot what it was. But I basically took that exact paint job and put it on my car with the same design, and I made it white, pink, and blue, which is actually, it's another one of Kyosho's paint jobs. They have a similar one too. So pretty much I stole my paint job from Kyosho. Anybody else?
How important is being able to focus and concentrate in racing?
It's very important, because I've been through it a lot. I mean, I've been in a lot of situations where I've, let's say, been top qualifier and just couldn't keep my wits about me and crash, and your heart starts pounding and it gets pretty crazy. I find, like, for me at least, I don't know if this is good advice, but I find that I like to, it helps me if I eat a lot of fatty foods. I don't know why. Like, if for some reason, if I don't eat in the morning, and you wake up in the morning before a main event, like let's say at a world championship or something like that, and you're super nervous, you can barely sleep, because I'm not gonna lie, I definitely get nervous, and you definitely want to eat something, and pizza is my thing. If I can get a couple of slices of pizza, I think it kind of maybe brings my blood sugar down or whatever it does, and then from there it's all about like maybe 5 minutes before the race, I just try and make sure that I'm breathing really steadily, just because a lot of times you kind of lock up and you stop breathing, and that makes everything way worse. So I just make sure I'm taking nice deep breaths, and then when the car is on the line and I'm on the driver's side, I just really focus in on my car and try and just really focus on the car, and and then when the race starts, hopefully you can just drive if everything goes well.